Hi everybody, this is Kathy. Welcome back. Now in this video I'm questioning whether Eric really had anything set up for BJ and the treatment and all that other stuff, because he's lying up a storm. He's lying this entire day. He's lied this entire video. And this was on August 24th on a Monday or Tuesday, maybe the 25th. Now I just put up a video proving that Eric lied about BJ blackmailing her dad Larry to steal the gas, when in fact she's the one that took the gas. And anyway, he was lying, saying anything he can to demonize BJ, because she had just gotten out of jail and he thought she was gone, and she's back. He's mad at Larry for bailing her out. He's mad at BJ. He's mad at Betty. He's mad at everybody. So he's making up one lie after the next against BJ as he's headed back to Odd West Virginia. And one of the things, because there's been so many lies. I mean, he lied that there was an eviction notice. He lied that that she was driving by tormenting Timmy after she got evicted. And this was all this same day. Lied about blackmailing Larry, all of it. So let's listen to this video. The same day he's headed back. This is the first we've heard that there's any problem. He's made up he's made up lie after lie. Now he's going to tell you that she was offered drug treatment. He had it all set up, and he talked to BJ about it, and she said no. So let's listen.
We need to get her out of that house.
And that is the whole this whole purpose, is to say whatever it takes to get her off the property, because she is not liking him taking advantage of her family. Talked about that in other videos. But his goal, number one goal, is to get her off the property. And she was in jail, but he's lying about the dates. He's lying about everything to make it sound more urgent, give you a sense of danger, a sense of urgency. And now he also wants to make you think that we're out of options with her. We've even offered her to go to treatment, which I think is a lie. But let's listen to him. He wants her off the property.
I'm putting this out in the public so people know that's what we're wanting to do, and that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And my God, we mean it. Get your stuff, get out. You've had every chance in the world. I had somebody willing to pay 100% for rehab. There seemed to be no desire there. At this point, they're not going to feel threatened in their own home, and we are not going to get a new home, and people come around there and trash it or think they're going to reap the benefits of it. No. We told you guys from the very beginning. We were watching this like a hawk.
Now, so they got to get BJ out of there so they don't trash the new home. And that makes no sense. But he just said that he offered 100% of the rehab to be paid, and she said no.
Well, I had somebody willing to pay 100% for rehab. There seemed to be no desire there. At this point, they're not going to feel threatened in their own home.
So he wants you to say, well, she got offered the help, and she said no. Now, as he's back on this week of August 24th, he's going to raise all kinds of hell. He's going to lie and say whatever it takes to convince adult protection that BJ is just out of control, and the people need to be removed from the home and putting nursing homes or whatever he did. But he's going to tell you that, to make it seem like there's no hope for BJ to ever get help. He's, again, talking about this drug that he's offering to BJ, and BJ keeps saying no.
I get it, because we want to be there for our kids.
Oh,
but if you want to get
and he's very, like I said in other videos, and the one I just did, he's very angry with Larry for bailing BJ out of jail. Very angry.
Better, and you keep bailing them out, you're actually encouraging the behavior, and parents nowadays really need to understand that.
Mad at,
also asking about is I'm trying to...
like I said, he's mad at all of them. He's mad at Betty, Larry and BJ, and his goal is to get Timmy and bring him back. And he's going to fill out them papers tomorrow. By tomorrow and the next day, they're going to have 3 trips to get a restraining order. Right now, he's lying that there's an eviction order. He's lying that BJ is driving a bike tormenting Timmy. He's lying about everything. And so I thought he's probably lying about this too.
BJ some help. I know you'd answered earlier. The parents have tried to, been unsuccessful.
I think she's been to rehab before. I could be wrong on that. If I find out different, I will correct myself. But I have a friend that managed Hulk Hogan for over 20 years. Everybody knows he just died a couple weeks ago. And so I interviewed him on my podcast.
Now listen to this, because I'm going to show you that podcast.
While he was on there, I mentioned this to him. And the reason I bring him up is like 20 years ago, he was an opiate addict. And Hogan actually helped with his sobriety. And after that, he started this ministry where he helps people get off drugs. And he started a rehab center. And I told him about BJ and her boyfriend, and he said, Eric, get them down here. I'll cover the whole thing. And it's down in Florida, and they do an amazing job. But his caveat was, he told me, he said, make sure she's serious. He said, nothing makes me madder than when I give a spot to somebody that doesn't really want it, and they take sobriety away from somebody that really wants to do it. And that's the thing, dude. People who are battling with drugs and alcohol, if they do not want it and they don't want to do the work, rehab does you no good. But it was offered, 100% paid for, and never heard anything else about it. So there's nothing else we can do.
Yeah.
And so Dwayne says, yeah, it is what it is. So he's saying that on his podcast, he talked to this guy, Hulk Hogan's, this Darren guy. Now, he didn't say his name, though, did he? Did you notice that? He did not tell you the guy's name. He says he's a friend. They interviewed, and the guy offered, and he talked to him about BJ and her boyfriend, and he said, yeah. And he said he did this on the show. Okay, now just to remind us, this is July that he talked to this guy. Remember I told you? And there was he hardly did any live dad talks, except for when Hulk Hogan died. And Charlie Kirk also. But on July 26th, that's the one live he did. And this is the live interview that he did. And this is the guy that he interviewed here. And his name is Darren Prince. And if you can see, his name is in the title. Remembering Hulk Hogan. Now, this is right when Hulk Hogan died. So, when Charlie Kirk died, he put up an old video about Charlie Kirk. And when Hulk Hogan died, he came on and did a Hulk Hogan one because it was real hot at the time. It was big news. So you would have thought that with his millions of viewers, and I've seen him twice. One time he said hundreds of thousands of viewers, and another time on the Meet Patrick and Eric, his first video, he said he had millions of viewers. But with all these millions of viewers, he's only had 379 views. And it's funny because he not only had Hulk Hogan's name, but also Darren Prince, who is this guy is a pretty big celebrity manager, like a promoter. And he was Hulk Hogan's promoter. So this guy's making the media rounds. And I found it interesting that he told, Eric had talked to him years ago or something, and Eric had given him some type of support just recently for him to come on here. So apparently it seems like Eric probably has paid this guy, but he's making the rounds because he's, striking while the iron's hot. Hulk Hogan just died and this was his manager. So he does this entire interview. Of course, Eric's here and he's wearing his Hulkamania shirt. Anyway, and here, let me show you something real at 4 minutes. Let me find. Oh, here it is. Eric shows he had a brush with Hulk Hogan one time. And here's the picture of him with Hulk Hogan. And this was in, I think, 2010, I think he said. It really wasn't that long ago. In 2010. Anyway, it was at some meet and greet at a Hulk's restaurant. I think Hulk used to have a restaurant or something. But anyway, you could meet him. So there's Eric meeting his hero, and that's the only brush he had with him, I guess. So Eric is kind of knows somebody who knew Hulk. And that's this guy. So this Darren Prince is being, I guess he's just making the media circuit or circus rounds, and he's been on all kinds of interviews. So he's here. Like I said, Eric got 379 views for this interview. Now, the whole entire interview, they talk about Hulk Hogan. All right, which, of course, they will. So this is him, and he's worked with a lot of celebrities, but so he's a promoter, and he promotes himself, too. So, like I said, this day he's making the rounds, but he's no...
Darren Prince, president and CEO of the Prince Marketing Group. We represent clients such as Magic Johnson, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Dennis Rodman, Chevy Chase, Jerry West, Carmen Electra, Denise Richards, Charlie Sheen, and so many more. But that's actually not why I'm here. I'm here to tell you about the 24-year hell of my opiate addiction to the beauty.
Okay. So the guy is like a celebrity promoter and stuff, but he's got a passion for like addiction stuff. So he's got this Aiming High Foundation where he it's like a charity that gives people a chance to go to treatment. And now it says it's a 501c3. 100% of the proceeds provide treatment for people who are suffering. Okay, so it's just kind of and I looked and like I do not see a particular treatment center that he owns or runs. I really have been I've looked and looked and looked. So I don't think he owns a treatment center like Eric said in Florida. He said he owns a place down in Florida treatment. He can go there. But that's not what I saw. In fact, he does have some organization for like young adults, professionals, some other program, but I didn't see a treatment program anywhere. So correct me if I'm wrong. I just didn't see one, but he does donate money. He's got a foundation, nonprofit that it's got a fund for people if they can't afford treatment. Let's put it that way. But I watched this entire interview. In fact, I went over it twice in case I maybe missed it. But they did not talk about BJ and her boyfriend like he said. He said during this podcast with Darren, and like I said, Darren admits that he got some type of support from Eric recently. So, I don't know if he's being paid to be on here or what, but it was a very short interview. It was only 27 minutes long. But they did not talk about BJ and her boyfriend going to treatment or anybody going to treatment until the very, very end. And this whole thing, like I said, it was about Hulk Hogan, the death of Hulk Hogan. And anyways, pretty much all it was, except when you got to the end. Now, what is there? There is less than 2 minutes left. And so they've talked about Hulk Hogan. Now he's going to tell them where you can reach this guy. And he's just going to tell Eric that something he doesn't know, that he finances people to go to treatment.
Is tell everybody where they can follow you and hear about your recovery. And for anybody that's struggling with drugs or alcohol, look, both of us on the screen, we've been there, and that's way behind us. I love using my story and turn that pain into purpose.
Now, he says it's all in the past, but we remember he just got accused of being an addict, right? He did.
Love using my story and turn that pain into purpose. And Darren has an amazing, amazing story. Tell people where they can follow you and get a copy of your book.
Yeah, and our test becomes our testimony. So at Instagram, it's @agent_DP. Facebook is Darren Prince. Should come up under Los Angeles.
California. My foundation website, aiminghighfoundation.org. If anybody's listening that's struggling and needs treatment, you'll see we're the real deal. Because all you have to do is go on there and inquire about what's going on. I personally call everybody, and we will scholarship you 100% financially to get you into the treatment, to get the gift of recovery going.
Wow, I did not.
No, he did not know that. But this is what he's going to... This is him talking. And this is what he's going to bring up.
Financially to get you into the treatment, to get the gift of recovery going.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yep.
Definitely got to hook up with you more on that. But Hope, love you, man, up there in heaven. I'm sure you're doing better than we are down here right now.
And that was it. That's all they said. That's not what Eric said. Eric said he had him on the show, and on the show they talked about BJ and his boyfriend going to treatment, and he said he's going to hook them up. They have to want it and all that. Well, first of all, who is Eric to order BJ into treatment, right? Especially when he's been accused himself, right?
People are just making up completely out of thin air. None of it makes any sense. My wife came to me one night, very angry, seeing a woman say that she had known me and my wife her whole life. The reason I wasn't able to come home from West Virginia is because I'm on methadone. And my wife has given me this ultimatum. I can't come home until I'm off the methadone. I've never taken methadone in my life.
Yeah. So who was Eric going to get a hold of? Was it Darren or what? Did you talk to Darren about yourself or BJ or the boyfriend? Who? Because you didn't talk to BJ about anything. You yourself are being accused of being on drugs. But in this interview, you did not talk about BJ and her boyfriend going to treatment. So I would like to know if he ever even spoke to him. But according to Eric, it was on this show. And at the time, I thought, yeah, sure it was. But I never looked. But now that I looked, and I've watched this more than once, there was nothing about BJ and her boyfriend on this show. And like he said. Now, how can he even if he would talk to Darren about BJ, nobody's asking Eric for a chance to go to treatment. Eric has somehow become amongst many other professionals that he thinks he is, he has took it upon himself to evaluate BJ, even though he doesn't know her, doesn't talk to her. He's evaluated her and her boyfriend, decided they both need treatment. And Dr. Eric, are we talking about inpatient treatment or outpatient treatment? Are we talking about, long-term treatment or short-term treatment? Is it MICD? What were we talking about, Dr. Eric? Because you have no qualifications to be evaluating BJ, especially when you yourself have said that you didn't even talk to her. Is that right? Because on the day that you had this interview on July 26th, you have not spoken to BJ according to you. Now, from that time in July, you didn't even see BJ again. You only saw the Whitakers once in June. And according to you, you never talked to her. And according to you, when it's still at the end of August, you still haven't sat down and spoken with her, Eric. So exactly when did you offer her the drug treatment?
It's the Whitakers have expressed to us they don't feel safe.
And this is funny because if the Whitakers aren't answering their phone, then who's telling you? How can they tell you they don't feel safe if just 5 minutes ago you told us that BJ won't give them the phone? Is she passing the message on for them? Lie.
And she just doesn't need to be there anymore. It's last week I got a call. Let me say, she doesn't really know me besides me just showing up and doing what I did for the family. I never sat down, never talked to BJ. This will be the second time I've gotten a call. Last week, she asked me for $300. And long story short, that week before, I went and done all that stuff for the Wickers. That was coming out of my pocket, guys.
Mm-hmm. Another lie. I mean, every sentence is a lie, including, what did he just say? I never sat down, never spoke to. This is the end of August. He's saying this. So besides the mid-August, because remember, you learned about this free treatment option back in July. It's the end of August and you still have not talked to BJ. You said yourself you haven't sat down, you haven't spoke to her, didn't have a one-on-one conversation, and until she called you last week demanding that you pay her family some money. Now, I doubt during that argument that you sat down and had a heart-to-heart about going to treatment when you're fighting with her over the phone, and she said, do you have our money or not? You said no, and she hung up on you, and that made you furious. So was it that phone call where you offered the treatment? Because you said up till that phone call last week, you've never spoken to her.
I got a call. Let me say, she doesn't really know me besides me just showing up and doing what I did for the family. I never sat down, never talked to BJ.
Then how did you offer her this free treatment center that guy just happened to mention, 30-second mention? That was a lie too. So when did you offer her the treatment, and when did she turn the treatment down? Because I'm going to tell you why he's saying this. He's saying this lie with about a dozen other lies on the same video. But this lie is so you and everybody listening knows that, you know what? We're out of options. It's an emergency. We have a sense of emergency, a sense of danger, and we're out of options. We've offered her treatment. She says has got no interest in the free treatment, and it was going to be free. It was going to be down in Florida. I don't know where he gets this Florida stuff. I know that's where Hulk Hogan lived. Maybe that guy lives there too. I thought he lived in California, but nonetheless, I don't see any treatment center that guy has. What I see is that he's got a foundation to help you get into some treatment. But as a matter of fact, he said that back in that Darren Prince guy, he's a promoter. He used to promote Dennis Rodman. Remember him, the worm? And remember he was over in like North Korea doing his basketball stuff with the leader over there or something. Anyway, Dennis Rodman got I don't know, he got all jacked up, and he came back to the United States, and this Darren Prince guy was the one that helped him, and he helped him get into some treatment center somewhere, but it wasn't Darren's own treatment center. He just helped him, directed Dennis Rodman to get into a treatment thing. So all the way from back then till now, I don't see Darren Prince having his own treatment center. He just offers people the opportunity who can't pay for it. So all this about him, and you notice he never did say the guy's name, did he? Because he don't want you checking into this. He said he has a friend. He talked to him on the podcast. They, on the podcast, they spoke about BJ and her boyfriend. But as you see on this podcast, he did not speak about BJ and the boyfriend. And you might think, well, maybe the one they got, that's not what he said. He didn't say after they got off. And as a matter of fact, this guy here made round after round. This is like a day, just 2 days, I think, after Hulk Hogan died. And this guy is making the round in TV stations, to YouTube channels, every place he possibly can. So I doubt he stuck around and talked about BJ. But that's not what Eric said. He said he's talked about it on the show. So you think that, wow, they discussed BJ and the boyfriend. They had it all set up. They had some beds down there in Florida with their names on it, and it was good to go. And then they talked to BJ and the boyfriend, and BJ said no. So, therefore, all that effort Eric put into getting treatment set up was all out of his pocket in vain. And that way you can think, well, he's right. I mean, if you had treatment all set up, you had it ready to go, and she said, no, we just want to keep, hogging the phone in the camper and, blackmailing my dad, and, I don't want to go to treatment. That's what he wants you to think in your head, that he went through all this effort to set it up. But yeah, he never said the guy's name, though, because he don't want you checking into nothing. But yeah, again, she's dangerous. This is emergency. Is we got to get her out of here. And don't think she's gonna go to treatment, because I already set that up and she turned it down. Even though I've never talked to her personally, he wants it both ways. Now he can't say that he never talked to BJ when Patrick said he got ghosted, and when he went up to the Winnikers, BJ had the phone inside the camper talking to no other than Eric. So Eric was talking to BJ through the month of July right here. And there's no way that they were talking about treatment, going to treatment, you know what I'm saying? We don't know what they're talking about, but I doubt it was that.
None of it makes any sense. My wife came to me one night, very angry, seeing a woman say that she had known me and my wife her whole life. The reason I wasn't able to come home from West Virginia is because I'm on methadone. And my wife has given me this ultimatum. I can't come home until I'm off the methadone.
Now, what I have found interesting, and I have mentioned and put up a video and took it down, is that so interesting, because I'm just saying, he's been accused of being on methadone. He's secretly talking to BJ, who happens to also be on methadone. And he's denying talking to, her other sons, except when they, but they're also on methadone. BJ's son's on methadone, and BJ's on methadone. And now Eric's being accused of being on methadone. And suddenly, Eric wants everybody to think it's emergency to get BJ out of the picture.
She just doesn't need to get her anymore. It's last week I got a call. Mommy said she doesn't really know me besides me just showing up and doing what I did for the family. I never sat down, never talked to BJ. This will be the second time I've gotten a call.
Then they're fighting over money. Never talked to her. Never sat down with her. I don't even know her. Then how do you know she needs to go to treatment, Eric? Now, the thing is, she's already been to treatment. And it's funny because for all the other people he mentions, like BJ's son, Brandon, and the other one, Jason, the cousin or whatever, he sticks up for them, saying, people can change, they can change, but somehow BJ can't change. And she really can't change because she won't go to Eric's imaginary offer of treatment, which you saw. He just learned that guy can send somebody and it'll be a process, but you need to be evaluated first. You just can't have Eric Carroll order you into treatment. He's got no credentials. This is for people who have already been assessed and do, they need treatment and all this. But Eric, you said you haven't even sat down with her. So how much information do you have of her? And when was this heartfelt talk about going to treatment that she turned down for her and her boyfriend?
Numero uno right now is we need to get her out of that house.
And this is all on Eric. Eric's idea to get her out of the house. He wants you to all believe that she got laid out treatment in front of her. He never told you who, though. He could have just said, hey, there's a guy that I know. I just interviewed him, and he happened to say that. Now, this would have been the truth. The truth would have been, I had this Darren Prince guy on my podcast, and he said that he's got a foundation that will pay for treatment if people want it. But Eric made it sound like, and he said on the podcast, they talked about BJ and her boyfriend, and he offered treatment. That's not what happened.
And, my God, we mean it. Get your stuff, get out. You've had every chance in the world. I had somebody willing to pay 100% for rehab. There seemed to be no desire there. At this point, they're not going to feel threatened in their own home, and we are not going to get a new home, and people come around there and trash it or think they're going to reap the benefits of it.
And how would friends of BJ reap the benefits of a house? But no, he did not discuss this on his podcast. He heard about an offer, but he never brought it up. He just said, a friend of mine. Because if he told you his name was Darren Prince, which he never once did, but if he told you the guy's, I figured it out because I figured it out for even when I went over there. But I just looked up the celebrity guy who did Hulk Hogan because that's what he said. But when I went over to the podcast, no, he never talked.
And people are also asking about, is I'm going to try to get BJ some help. I know you answered earlier. The parents have tried to, been unsuccessful.
I think she's been to rehab before. I could be wrong on that. If I find out different, I will correct myself.
All right. Again, he's not a professional. So how can he assess that she even needs treatment? I mean, you could say, yeah, she needs treatment. How do you know? She's already been to treatment. So would a professional say she needs something else or what? But Eric thinks he's a professional at everything.
But I have a friend that managed Hulk Hogan for over 20 years. Everybody knows he's died.
A friend.
And so
he has met this guy twice on his podcast, never in person. He said it had been years, or it's been a long time since he talked to the guy. And I think he was on his podcast one other time. But he's done, it's a friend. He never tells you his name, though, does it? And this is what he always says. It's a friend, it's this, or he just makes up people. But he doesn't want anybody checking into this to see if it really was, if he talk to this guy about BJ and the boyfriend like he claims. No, he don't want you talking to him.
But I have a friend that managed Hulk Hogan
a friend.
Over 20 years. Everybody knows he's died a couple weeks ago. And so I interviewed him on my podcast. While he was on there, I mentioned this to him. And the reason I bring him up is like 20 years ago, he was in.
And I mentioned this to him. No, he didn't. I just showed you. I showed you his video. The last 2 minutes, there was maybe a 30-second, 60-second mention of his foundation where he funds people that want to go to treatment because he's passionate about the treatment, okay? He's passionate about drug treatment and all this other stuff. So he's got a little nonprofit organization, 501c3, where he collects money for people who can't afford to go to treatment. That's it. He just said on his podcast, they discussed it. His friend. What friend, Eric? Why don't you tell us who it is so we can check the guy out? Don't worry, I already did.
Over 20 years. Everybody knows he's died a couple weeks ago. And so I interviewed him on my podcast. While he was on there, I mentioned this to him. And the reason I bring him up is
he did not mention it. That's a lie. And like I said, I did not see a rehab that he actually owns, but Eric's saying he owns some rehab in Florida.
He started this ministry where he helps people get off drugs. He started a rehab center. And I told him about BJ and her boyfriend, and he said, Eric, get him down here. I'll cover the whole thing. And it's
That is not what they said on the podcast. He said, I just showed you twice, 3 times maybe. He claims on the podcast he brought up this BJ, which is a lie. So everything he said in this trip was a lie. Everything he's ever said was a lie. But this is proof that he didn't talk to BJ. Number one, he claims he's never sat down and talked to BJ besides one fight over the phone about money, and she hung up on him immediately. So when was this discussion about treatment that she turned down? And where is this discussion that you had on your podcast? None of it's backed up. The only one that we saw getting yelled at to get not come home till you're off drugs is you. Maybe you're the one that needs to talk to the dude about treatment. But you see, I don't order people into treatment like Eric does. Especially when I'm trying to, destroy their family too. You know what I mean? Another thing I would never try to do. That one. So if you can find the part where he's talked about BJ and her boyfriend going into treatment in this interview here, let me know. Here it is. Dad talked today. Remembering Hulk Hogan, Darren Prince. Okay, with these famous names, especially Hulk Hogan just dying. Like I said, 379 views. And as a matter of fact, with his millions of followers, as he claims, hundreds of thousands, there also is no comments. Look at that. 379 views and no comments. Isn't that funny for all the hundreds of thousands of people that are following Eric? But yeah, you show me in this interview where he talked about BJ and her boyfriend going to treatment with this guy, and how how they had a discussion about it, because that's what Eric claimed. This is the podcast. Check it out.
Started a rehab center, and I told him about BJ and her boyfriend, and he said, "Eric, get them down here. I'll cover the whole thing." And it's down in Florida, and they do an amazing job. But his caveat was, he told me, he said, "Make sure she's serious." He said, "Nothing makes me madder."
So he's already gotten ahead of the game in case all the crowd says, hey, let's just get BJ some help. Nope. Scratch that off the list. He wants every possibility gone that BJ can still be there.
And people are also asking about, is I'm going to try to get BJ some help. I know you'd answered earlier. The parents have tried to, been unsuccessful.
I think she's been to rehab before. I could be wrong on that. If I find out different, I will correct myself. But I have to find.
And isn't that funny? If I talk to somebody about going to treatment, wouldn't that person have already told me, yeah, well, I've been to treatment once or twice, or I've never been to treatment? If you talk to BJ about going to treatment, you would know if she had been there or not. You know what I mean? Everything he comes out of his mouth shows you he never talked to her about treatment.
But I have a friend that managed Hulk Hogan for over 20 years. Everybody knows he just died a couple weeks ago. And so I interviewed him on my podcast. While he was on there, I mentioned this to him.
Well, he didn't. That's a lie. So I'm going to wrap it up there. He never mentioned on the podcast. He made it sound like we've already tried to set up the treatment with BJ. She turned it down. We had it all ready to go. Some luxury place in Florida. I don't think any of it's true. He just wants you to think that there's no other option but to kick her off the property. Anyway, thanks for listening and peace.